It's hockey season, Wild fans. Get your tickets today for the final home preseason game where your Wild take on the Blackhawks. Tickets available at wild.com/hockey tickets. That's wild.com/hockey tickets to get your tickets today.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the fighting city of Raleigh, North Carolina, by way of Minnesota for the Vikings Entertainment Network and Vikings.com, here comes Salt of the Earth and an elite football mind. Can I get a witness? And a raucous round of applause for Gabe Henderson. Hello, G.
What up, PA? How you doing?
Good. Border Battle 128. You're an elite football mind. And Gabe also is very close friends with Malik Willis, quarterback for the Packers. Gabe played wide receiver at Liberty University before Malik Willis got there, but they know each other through that and through faith. And Malik might play a little bit this week. Maybe he'll play a lot. Who knows? But I want to start with somebody else I know you know. And every time I look at Preston Smith and I watch him and what he does and everything, he's a defensive end / edge guy for the Packers, 10th year from Mississippi State. I always think of you because of the glowing things you've said about Preston Smith the man and Preston Smith the player from when Gabe worked with the then Washington Redskins Washington football team. But how about this? Preston Smith, this is a defensive end. This is an outside linebacker. He has 5 interceptions in his career. 5 interceptions as a linebacker.
That's a lot.
His first, and the Vikings are a common thread here. His first came with Washington in 2016 against the Vikings from the arm of Sam Bradford. And his most recent came from the arm of Kirk Cousins in 2019 at U.S. Bank Stadium. Plus, he has 2 sacks this year. And a thing I really like about him, now that I've gone deep diving on him, is he's in his 10th year. He played every single game last season, and he stays healthy, so he's available, man. Preston Smith's the bomb.
He is the bomb, and I think that started when he was in Washington and how he took care of his body. And you just saw a big guy that was about 6'5", 6'6".
Is he that tall?
Oh yeah, he's a big human being.
That is a tall linebacker.
But he didn't fit into his frame until he got to Green Bay. Well,
wow.
Maybe his 2019 season in Washington when he started to come into his own. I remember vividly Ryan Kerrigan. Remember Ryan Kerrigan?
Yeah. Good
he
player.
had a sack against Dak Prescott late in the game against that. It was a Redskins-Cowboys game, Sunday Night Football. And Preston Smith picked the ball up and scored a touchdown, his first career touchdown in the NFL. And I believe that's when he first started to figure out, okay, I can play in this league.
Yeah.
And fast forward till now, I tell people all the time, and even if you talk to Christian Darrisaw, Preston Smith is probably Christian Darrisaw's toughest opponent year in and year out.
Wow.
Because he's so long, he's so physical, and he knows how to use his body.
Yeah.
I believe last year Christian Darrisaw gave up a couple of pressures. And if you ask Christian Darrisaw, it's like, look, Preston Smith, when I play against that guy, I know I have to come with my A game. I mean, and granted, Christian Darrisaw has played against Nick Bosa 2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Last week against Daniil
Hunter. Week before that, it was
Brian
Burns, right? I mean, it's been a series of just brutal matchups for Darrisaw.
Yep.
Now, he's not 100% healthy right now. Do we have any concern about his ability to go in this game?
Honestly, I think if Christian Darrisaw is on that field on Sunday, you're going to get 100% Christian Darrisaw. And honestly, 85% Christian Darrisaw is still probably better than 90%
most left tackles.
Yeah, exactly. So,
It's an illness, right? It's an illness.
That's what it was marked down as.
Yeah. Usually, the illness on Wednesday, Thursday is done by Sunday. So let's hope that's the case.
I hope so.
It usually is not something that ends up multi-day where you run into trouble. It's like the Friday illness pops. Now, then you get a little bit more worried about what that might mean for Sunday. Hopefully that will not be the case here. All right, Gabe, you can only pick one.
Okay.
The lead story for the Vikings season, is it Sam Darnold or the Vikings defense? You may only pick one.
I would say the Vikings defense. I'm big on defense wins championships. And when you look at how the Vikings have been able to be successful in these first few games, it's been because of how the defense has played. Last week in the first half against the Texans, they blitzed over 50% of the first half on C.J. Stroud's dropbacks. And then the second half, they blitzed around 25%.
Okay.
I talked to Kamu Grugier-Hill, who had an interception on play 3 against the Texans last week. I talked to him earlier this week, and he said, hey, there's times during the game where the entire defense changes on the sideline.
Wow.
And that comes to Brian Flores basically having faith in this defense and basically saying, look, I'm going to do this because this is what I've seen. And I think one of Brian Flores' biggest traits this year is his self-awareness. He's going back and checking out his own game film. Okay, this is my tendency. This is what I'm going to do to change it. If you look at the first 2 weeks, we're blitzing on first and second down, not much at all. And then last week, we're blitzing on second down about 70% of the game.
Wow.
So a lot of self-awareness when it comes to Brian Flores' scheme, which is ultimately making our offense better.
And that interview with the Super Bowl winner, who's new to the Vikings covenant, Kamu Grugier-Hill, 54, who picked off C.J. Stroud to start the game last week. That's a podcast at Vikings.com. Gabe and 54, podcast, KFAN.com.
Yep.
Strongly suggest, Vikings.com. Vikings.com. Strongly suggest you listen to it. It's very, very good. Charge?
A couple of stats that I want to drop on you that are just remarkable. Vikings are the only team in the last 20 years to have 5 or more sacks in every game to start a season through 3.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How about this?
20 years.
I don't know if it's going to happen because Addison might be back, but Jefferson and Naylor, if they each score a touchdown in this week's game, they're going to be the first duo in the history of the National Football League to score touchdowns
every game?
4 consecutive.
No way.
To start the season.
Wow.
Yeah, Jefferson. Just think about that. Carter and Moss.
Yeah.
Rice and Taylor. Swan and Stallworth, 2 of your favorites.
Oh yeah. Right.
Pearson and Golden Richards, and so on. Willie Gault and Leslie Frazier when they switched him to receiver.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I did not know that stat. That's fantastic.
I mean, you just look at their play. It's Jalen Naylor and Justin Jefferson the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
They're probably playing the best out of any duo in the NFL. And I know you can say statistically other duos are playing better or stat-wise.
No, you could until Nico Collins came into U.S. Bank Stadium. I mean, Nico came in leading the NFL in receiving yards. He was a 0 factor the entire game.
Unbelievable.
And it pissed him off. Shaq Griffin's a former Texan. So Flores at the end, the game's out of hand. He's like, Shaq. Number 1, Shaq Griffin, former Texan, played 10 games with him last year or 6, had a pick. Get Nico. All right, cool. It's just me, right? Yeah, it's just you. I mean, he balled against Nico Collins in the final part of the fourth quarter, 1-on-1. I mean, he had Collins so frustrated. That's how fast everything's going right now.
I mean, we played about 70% of the game in zone last week. That last drive of the game when Nico Collins and Shaq Griffin were going one-on-one, that's all man-to-man. That's basically Brian Flores saying, okay, I think my guy is better than yours because I've already gotten your head the first 3 quarters. Now see what happens. And we saw Brian Flores and Shaq Griffin pretty much lock down this Houston Texans defense. And it goes back to the main point of this defense has been carrying this team. And we have Sam Darnold, who has the most touchdown passes in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. That makes your entire team better.
I can't say the defense wholeheartedly has been carrying the team. I mean, when you're running up 31 and blowing somebody out at home, when you're going play action out of the end zone with a quarterback, everybody's waiting to fail. You're like Brian O'Neill. For this to work, you have Bosa one-on-one and it has to work. Aaron Jones, if they blitz Fred Warner, which they don't do much, but if they do, he's all yours. Bradbury, you got to get Javon Hargrave as long as you can here because we're going to go play action. He's going to step up, and we're going to get Jefferson on slow safeties, and we're going to get 97. So I understand what you're saying. The defense, 5 sacks each game, Van Ginkel touchdown, a whole thing. It is so complimentary right now, like on a punt last week. You got Brandon Powell inside the 5, man. Instead of freaking out like what to do with the football, he finds the gunner for the Texans and blocks him at the 3 so he can't get the ball at the 1.
Yep. Smart.
I mean, that is attention to detail.
Yep.
That's respecting your coaches. That's believing the plan. And that's paying attention to even the most minute detail because you know you're onto something really, really good here.
The Vikings have humbled 3 straight quarterbacks, putting them on their worst games of their season so far. Small sample size. Daniel Jones and then Brock Purdy and then C.J. Stroud. And after the games, they're all like, I don't know what just happened to me. I don't know what I was seeing out there. And they're all very complimentary. I want to talk about the run defense for a minute, which I think is going vastly underappreciated.
Yeah.
Let me do a stat dump on you.
Let's do it.
You ready? Okay. Some run defense stat dump for the Minnesota Vikings. They rank number 1 in run defense by Pro Football Focus. They're number 7 in tackling. They rank number 5 in run defense success rate. They're number 3 in yards per carry allowed at just 3.6 yards per carry allowed. 2 of 3 opposing teams haven't topped 45 rushing yards as a team against the Minnesota Vikings. It has been a dominating run performance as well. We're all geared to look at quarterbacks and see how quarterbacks are succeeding.
Yeah.
But the fact that teams can't get a running game going against Minnesota really helps unlock your ability to play great pass defense.
And I think to that point, those are all great stats and all valid. And just trying to marry that up with some of the film that I've watched, I feel like Brian Flores has made teams one-dimensional. Teams aren't running the ball outside. Why? Because Andrew Van Ginkel
is so fast.
And if you try to throw it outside, he's going to intercept it or tip the pass. So it's forcing teams to be one-dimensional and run it up the middle. And that's where Harrison Phillips, who I think has been having the best start of his career through these first 3 games, that's where he's been able to be successful. And I think if you got a guy in Brian Flores that basically says, look, I'm going to stop you from doing one thing and force you to do everything else, that ultimately makes your defense say, okay, this is who we are. They're playing into our strengths, so let's go stop the run. And I believe that's the reason why we've been successful in doing so far.
Yeah, this is the run defense has been terrific. You try to get the Packers so far, and it's a little bit wonky because of the whole Malik Willis experience, and he's only throwing the ball, 15 times a game, right? But they've been so run heavy with Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, their backup, and I'm going to talk to Sinekin a little bit about that later on in the show.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Wilson looks like a really good running back, and then they've been running Malik Willis, so we don't really know. They're super run heavy right now. Don't know what that's going to shape up like with Jordan Love, presumably the starter this week. But if you can take away the effectiveness of Josh Jacobs, that just it just makes you feel so much better what you're trying to do against the pass.
And I think that's honestly, I believe Tennessee focused on that a little bit too much.
Yeah.
They gave Josh Jacobs a little bit too much respect and said, all right, if we stop Josh Jacobs, Malik Willis can't throw the ball down the field anyway. And then Malik Willis had, 81 rushing yards?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we got to stop 2 guys running the ball.
Right.
And then it opened up passing plays down the field. So I think you got to be a little bit more balanced and not just put all your eggs in one basket.
I got to clip in here with this because I can't forget to ask you this for a 3rd consecutive day. Assuming you've texted and or talked with Malik Willis this week, and he's a super humble, Christian-going kind of guy. He's a very impressive man on and off the field. He just went back to the stadium where when he last was playing, they booed him, and they booed him off the field.
Yeah.
He went there and outplayed the guy they drafted to replace him and left with the money. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
You can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
And Malik being such a humble guy, I have not talked to him this week. I did talk to him Saturday before the Titans game and just wished him good luck. I mean, exchanged a few text messages. But for a guy, if you meet Malik Willis and you know the person and then you see him have a game like he did last week, you can only be more excited for what the future is for him. And ultimately, I think, PA, we talked about this on Tuesday. If Jordan Love plays the rest of the year, I think Malik Willis's price tag went up for teams this offseason to basically say, look, this guy has put some plays on film. All he needs is good coaching, and you can win behind this guy. And I'm rooting for him, just not this upcoming Sunday.
Not this Sunday. Now, relative to the Willis-Love thing, and who's going to start, there's a chance, I still think it's going to be Love, but there's a chance there's some long-term chicanery happening with the Packers. The timetable for Love originally was to bring him back either this week or next week.
Yeah.
So it's possible the Packers start planting stories about Love potentially coming back last week to really just raise a lot of doubt for the Vikings staff this week and force them to have to divide their prep evenly, and that maybe Love's really not so much in play this week, and this thing might be like 70-30 Willis and not as much like 70-30 Love as it feels to us right now.
I like knowing Matt LaFleur and just how just sneaky his press conferences are. Like, it would not surprise me if Jordan Love started this entire game. And I listened to PA's interview with head coach Kevin O'Connell, which was great. And KO said, you got to prepare for both. Like, they're playing.
Right.
And at the same time, they're two different quarterbacks.
Very.
So it makes the stress level go up a little bit more if you're Brian Flores. And I personally believe, I have no intel on this, I personally believe that Jordan Love will be playing this week. And I say that because
me too.
When you have when you're going against a team that's 3-0, one, that's going to get the juices going. Two, they're in your division and they're a rival. And three, it's your first divisional game of the year. So why not start on a positive note with the guy that you just paid a boatload of money this boatload of money this offseason? Okay,
that's all true. And this is a shockingly important Week 4 divisional game because the Vikings here, Vikings are up a win right now. This would give, if they win here, they go up 2 wins and have the tiebreaker. It would be a big deal. But there's this. I don't think most Packer fans, and I think if you could get candid with the coaches, I don't think they thought 2 Malik Willis starts would result in 2-0. They've got a little bit of found money right now, and they may just decide to go long term on Jordan Love's knee and just say, look, we don't want to have a setback. We don't want to lose another 3 or 4 weeks on Jordan Love. And if he's not 100%, you just wait a week because you're 2-0 in these Malik Willis starts, and you still might win with Malik Willis at the helm again. That's a possibility.
That is a possibility for sure. And that's the tricky part about all of this is, like, both quarterbacks have been proven winners for that team. And it's like, do you go with the hot hand or do you go with someone that's been proven in this league? And I don't know. Like, you don't want that knee, if you're the Packers, you don't want Jordan Love's knee to be a lingering thing all year.
Correct.
And if you're rushing him back just to play against a team in Week 4, then you're not thinking about his long-term success. But if his knee is available and let's say he's 85-90%, why not give it a shot just to see how it looks pregame and then make a decision from there? Correct me if I'm wrong. Last week Malik Willis started and Jordan Love was the emergency backup, correct?
Yeah.
So if Malik would have went down, Jordan Love would have...
He was the third.
Okay, he was the third. So they trust his knee enough. Yeah. But is it to the point where they will start him this week? I don't know.
I mean, the ruse, if there's a ruse here, I mean, they're really, really going to extensive measures to sell it because in Brazil, all right, that's when it was at its worst. Well, the Packers made sure that certain networks were permitted closer to the team buses than I've ever seen cameras next to a team bus leaving a stadium. Why? To show that Love is walking onto the bus. We got no boot. We have no crutch, nothing like that. The next week, and Jordan has been at practice, every single practice. He's listed limited subjective. You could be on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field doing push-ups, and they can call that limited. Or you can be out there running around a little bit under the cover of darkness, and that could be limited. The fact that he's been out there and he's been hopping around, I mean, he's close. And if it's not just he's close. I mean, he might have been ready last week. I mean, I'm not being conspiratorial with this. I think he plays this week. I think he's ready to play this week. Like I said earlier, against this Flores defense, welcome in. The water's warm.
Yeah, and PA, you made a good point with those cameras being permitted because I believe NFL Network or a network was on the tarmac when the Green Bay Packers landed from Brazil in Green Bay. And the shot was of Jordan Love literally walking off the plane. And if you travel with the team, if you have experience, like that's a sacred place. Like teams walking on and walking off the plane, that's a very sacred place. So to see that footage, I was like, this is unique.
Unless you're the PEN, the Packers Entertainment Network, or unless you're Packers.com person.
Yeah.
But I mean, to let this is a very small market we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you're going to have Tom Fanning, who used to work at KFAN and runs public relations, media relations for the Packers. Well, he's going to know the names of all the camera people for all three stations in the town who cover the team. So that could be, hey, you know what? Normally, like when the team lands or whatever from London or Germany or wherever, you got to stand over there. You can go over here now, if you want, when they're coming down the stairs. That's a great point you made.
Yeah, it was unique because it was a Saturday morning, and I remember like watching getting ready for college game day. I'm like, Liberty's playing, this and that, and I'm like, why is there a shot of Jordan Love walking off the plane limping? Like that's very unique. But to your point, Charch, it would not surprise me if he played. But yeah, if if you're trying to rush a guy back for a Week 4 game, no matter what team you are. That does raise a lot of eyebrows.
So last thing on Jordan Love's knee, and we've probably discussed this topic more than it deserves, but one of the things he does really well, and he's not Lamar Jackson, but he extends a lot of plays with his legs. He picks up first downs with his legs. If that mobility is impaired, and we know that he is going to be much more in the pocket, and he's not going to have the same kind of speed that he's normally got.
Yeah.
That helps tell Brian Flores where that quarterback is, and I think ultimately that takes at least one dimension away from Jordan Love.
So what Charch is saying, because he's of the conspiratorial variety, he thinks they're going to use Love to run and Willis to pass. You know what I'm saying?
That would be, wow.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. Another good point that KO brought up with PA earlier this week is the fact that Jordan Love is really good at throwing the ball off of his back foot. So even if he's in shotgun, sometimes he's backing up 2 or 3 yards.
That's a thing with him.
His back. Like
I watched it last year. I'm like, all right, well, my man made major strides here, but we could probably do without the back foot trick.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's him. That's like him. What he does.
Right. Normally they try to coach that out of you as a quarterback.
Well, when you have Aaron Rodgers as your mentor the first 3 years of your career,
I guess that happens.
You make that a part of your bag. That's a part of his bag.
That's what Aaron does.
Yeah, I mean, and Jordan Love and then Aaron Rodgers 2 back-to-back weeks, or Malik Willis, Aaron Rodgers back-to-back weeks. We're going to see a lot of throws off of the back foot, and that's something that we have to game plan for.
I'll see you tomorrow night at the Wooden Nickel.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it. Gabe Henderson, ladies and gentlemen, Vikings.com, Vikings Entertainment Network. Don't forget, with the announcement we had earlier, with a 7-year extension between KFAN and Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, and the iHeartRadio family, 7-year extension to have Minnesota Vikings football on those 2 stations in the iHeart family. Next year, 2025, will be the 25th year of the collaboration between the Vikings and what is now iHeartRadio. To commemorate it, we have 4 pairs of tickets to the Vikings and Falcons we are giving away here at Buffalo Wild Wings Coon Rapids. All right? So we're going to give away those 8 tickets somewhere within the next hour and change. The way to win is to register over here at the street team table with Abby and Krista. That's where the box is for registration. An hour and change from now, we will announce said winners. When we return, Alec Lewis with The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. He helps us slice and dice our way through Border Battle 128 from the Friday Football Feast on FM 100.3 KFAN.
Join KFAN and Justin Guard for an epic Purple Watch Party at Forgotten Star Brewery October 6th. Come enjoy great brews, quarterly prizes, all while watching the Purple as they battle it out against New York in London. Doors open at 7 a.m. For full details, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids. Welcome back to the Friday Football Feast, into the second half of the presentation, and a weekly staple at the Friday Football Feast here, there, and everywhere across the Great Divide. Does great work for The Athletic and theathletic.com. He also has a podcast that's very good, and a lot of people are watching and listening to it. Can we get a witness and a raucous round of applause for Alec Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, from The Athletic? Hey! What's up now?
I wanted to ask you.
What? Wait, watch this, because human nature gets to win. All right,
human nature does get to win,
right?
Exactly,
which means people, whether they want to admit it or not, generally are of the opportunistic variety. Watch this. Hey, do you guys want to win Vikings-Falcons tickets today? Box.
Did you negotiate the 7-year deal? Like, were you in those conversations?
I didn't even know what was happening.
Really?
I got a text last night.
I kind of thought you would be.
Why?
Because you're a good.
I'm the play-by-play guy.
You're a business acumen elite.
Terrible. No. I've never had an agent. No, I make exactly what I'm supposed to make. I do what I'm supposed to be doing at the state right now, and other people handle things like that. So I didn't even know it was taking place till Abbott texted me last night, told me what was coming in the opening, waited for the opening, got the intel, got the tickets, and here we are.
Chad Abbott, good morning. Chad Abbott's sneaky. He's always sneaky.
Always has.
Yeah, there's always something going on with him.
No doubt, he's a playmaker.
Yeah, Yeah, he makes plays.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, because he can't feel one of his feet, he's been doubtful on the injury list for like 9 years. But that just is a testament to how crafty and game and the fortitude he possesses.
It's a discipline that he, week by week, day by day, he typically just is the best when his best is required, and I give him credit for that, frankly.
Well, that deal started in the high red and closed in the end zone.
Yeah, there you go.
And there were tremendous ops.
A lot of ops.
So by the way, Charch was a glad handing, as he's wont to do. And then YA, young Alec, at Alec_Lewis via the X Machine, via Twitter. Please follow him as 9 to Noon does, and do so now. Right now. So before you walk back, Alec and I, we don't argue, but we go back and forth, we spar. And he said something about Green Bay, about,
I like their offensive design.
No, you said they're really, really good. And I said they may be really good. I don't see it right now. And it doesn't mean they can't win. But here's why. Is when you get inside the 20-yard line 10 times in 3 games and you only have 3 touchdowns, I don't care who your quarterback is, that needs to be a 6. And a 6 ain't even a great number. But that can improve, especially if Love plays, okay? Secondly, and I'll show you between the next 2 segments, defensively, Jeff Hafley, their new coordinator, they've shifted to a 4-3 base. So we now have Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith with their hand in the grass. Think Hunter and Everson Griffin, or whomever you watched down Tuscaloosa way when they...
Like Dallas Turner and Will Anderson?
Did they have their hand in the grass, defensive end?
No, not really.
Well, see, that's why I didn't go there. But all right, 3-2. So this is a trend. Now, it's not full-time. So like Rashawn Gary, his first time in this Titans game that he stood up as the edge guy, that's an absolute game-wrecking stud. They didn't give him a sack on it. He beat the bleep out of the right tackle and then Will Levis, okay? But he didn't get a sack for whatever the reason. Might have been an incomplete pass. But you're going to see this weekend. This is a transition for the Green Bay Packers defense. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, hand in grass, think 4-3 standard base, and they're transitioning with it. Jair Alexander's interception was 100% a stupid play by Will Levis. They got a lot of interceptions, and God bless them that they do. Because if they don't have 9 interceptions and are +7 in the take-give, they're not 2-1. That's the end. That they would not have won both those Willis games. So that's all I was trying to say.
No, that's fair, and I understand. Now, let me say with the defense, first, Xavier McKinney has had a hell of a year thus far. The safety, obviously from the Giants, he's been very, very good.
You remember when he played an O'Connell offense twice a couple of years ago?
I do, yeah.
Go back and watch that.
Well,
I'm saying welcome in, the water's warm.
And I'm not arguing that, like, the Packers are going to win this game, because I don't think they are, even in Lambeau Field. I think the Vikings are going to win. Maybe I'm too close to it, and I don't mean to unveil my prediction so quickly here, but they're a talented team.
I know.
They're very well coached. Jeff Hafley, who is their new defensive coordinator, and Kevin O'Connell have been close for a long time. You mentioned Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, and you've got the film. I just want the people listening in your car here. PA's like crushing film on his laptop, which is like the most elite football mind thing.
I'm so excited for this game. It's unbelievable.
I walked up and he's just like
right. He's breaking down all 22.
All 22 film.
But I'm bragging about Malik Willis, Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft blocking down the field, Christian Watson with a badass block at the 5. Just trying to see what's coming.
But let me say, you mentioned those edge rushers and the interior defensive line of the Packers.
Yeah.
The one guy watching the film of last week that I never heard this guy's name, Kingsley Enagbari.
Yeah.
This guy blew me away on the film.
Yeah.
Is an edge rusher, is a backup guy.
Yep.
And he was phenomenal last week. And they do a really good job, Green Bay does, of shuffling in and kind of they run different. They have specific edge rushers that they will shuffle in and out.
Yeah.
And they keep those guys fresh throughout the course of the game. And that's been pretty important.
Well, the Lambeau press box is enclosed, right?
It is.
That's a fat L at Lambeau Field. That sucks. But anyway, when you're watching the game from the sterile, enclosed, boring press box, come to the box, man. Sit behind us, put some headphones on, have a good time. What you're going to notice is, defensively, the A topic for me, Rashawn Gary's the bomb. I mean, I had a bad read on Rashawn Gary early in his career. It wasn't that good. I didn't think he was going to be that good because I didn't think he got it. But I was wrong. He gets it. He's very, very good. There's a transition taking place. Kenny Clark had a career high in sacks last year. Okay, so he's still going great guns. TJ Slayton, you got to watch the games to understand how impactful he is.
Big guy.
Right, and he's twitchy. Because if you look at the stats, you're going to be like, TJ Slayton, we're happy for you. This first-round pick from Georgia a couple years ago, Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, good player.
Rookie year, last year, okay, got a little better. No, he's phenomenal right now. 95. 3 sacks, 3.5 maybe. Like Quay Walker, I'm not a Quay Walker guy. I think you can beat him all over the field. You can run at him, knock him backwards. He's fast. Big deal. So are Deer, but they don't play in the NFL. This Devontae Wyatt, now that part right there, okay, that's either greatness or potential greatness with those three, and that's the part with Bradbury and or Ingram, where Dexter Lawrence got a sack and Hargrave was unstoppable for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the interior has been, someone asked me earlier this week, how do you think the offensive line has played? And I said, generally, I think they've been pretty solid. They've done a good job. I also, within that, the protection scheme and how Kevin O'Connell has chipped guys on the edge, just how they've helped the tackles, and then the interior, there have been times where Ed Ingram gets beat maybe 3 times a game. Garrett Bradbury has been okay in specific spots, but not perfect. I have, with the offensive line, at times, it's been pretty good. I don't think Sam Darnold performs the way he's performed if they have not been pretty good.
Yep.
But there are times where they do feel susceptible, and that's, to me, both lines of scrimmage. Wow, elite take by me here. But both lines of scrimmage in this game, with the Packers front and the Vikings front, and stopping the run and being able to pass protect, that will probably decide this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sam Darnold's biggest single failings in his prior stops had been his downfield passing, which was bad. It was picks all over the field, inability to throw touchdowns. This year, so different. You're talking about the protection. On passes of more than 15 yards, Sam Darnold ranks number 1 in completion percentage at 65%, which is a gigantic completion rate for deeper passes. A whole third of the league's quarterbacks don't even have a 65 completion percentage across the entire field.
Wow.
And Sam's doing that downfield. If I were going to point at one thing that Sam has done dramatically better here than in any of his other stops, it's that downfield passing, and it gets obviously unlocked by the protection he's getting.
And it also carries and dovetails the takes into where, if you were of the variety saying, well, this is all on Sam, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, when I talked about this, I was like, sure, there's pressure on the coach, pressure on the players. It's a team game. This one's on Sam. Okay, this ain't Matt Rule holding up a college football card with Ronald McDonald in the top left, Adrian Barbeau in the top right, Snake
that.
Plissken in the bottom left.
Oh, nice reference.
And SpongeBob SquarePants in the bottom right. Okay, this ain't that. And whomever he had at the Jets, this ain't that either. This is an aggressive, cold-blooded play-calling head coach.
Yeah, it's been great.
With Justin Jefferson, play action off Aaron Jones. This is on Sam.
The system right now and how they're building these game plans offensively has been so intentional, so well designed. That's like Kyle Shanahan always gets credit, Sean McVay, for the way they construct offense. Right now, what Kevin O'Connell and this staff, Wes Phillips, Brian Angelico, Josh McCown, what they have done to marry this thing up in terms of like how specific even the route running has been with Keenan McCardell and how he's coached those guys up. They are operating at a very high level on a week-to-week basis.
Okay, Lou at Alec _Lewis via Twitter. Follow him as 9 to Noon does, and I mean right now. One of his most recent stories, maybe the most recent, unless he posted something within the last 2.5 hours. Aaron Jones matchup with Green Bay Packers evokes familiar feeling. Really, really good piece there. Subscribe to The Athletic, and you can learn more via Alec's Twitter feed. He also has a podcast. We're going to chat about that in a little bit. And when we return, old school, best school. We have a treat for you. Just learned about this. Greg Coleman, the former sideline analyst for the KFAN Minnesota Vikings radio network. He used to do a pregame preach into games. Greg retired from the job into the 2022. But for whatever the reason, it's going to play this weekend. He left us a preach about the border battle, and we're going to play that back for you around the corner and continue to talk to YA Young Alec at KFAN.
Let your voice be heard. Tune in to Vikings Fan Line following every Vikings game presented by the Minnesota Lottery. Listening right here on KFAN or anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app.
Wild Wings Coon Rapids. Don't forget, within the next hour, we are giving away 4 pairs of tickets to the Vikings and Atlanta Falcons in December. Yep, that game, U.S. Bank Stadium, Kirko Chains, though. And that's to commemorate the announcement we made out of the gate of a new 7-year partnership or extension to the relationship between the Vikings and iHeartRadio, specifically specifically KFAN and Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. So 7-year extension, and we're giving away 7 pairs of tickets. We gave one away about 45 minutes ago. Double B, Brett Blakemore handled that via the phone lines. The program with Dan Cole from noon until 3. They'll have a pair to give away. And bumper to bumper, we'll have a pair to give away 3 to 6:30. But we have 4 on site. So last chance to register if you haven't with Abby and Krista and the street team table over here. We will give those away before the conclusion of the show. And here's Alec Lewis of The Athletic, theathletic.com. The podcast, the Alec Lewis Show.
Yeah, creative name, right?
Yeah, it's great. You can learn more about it at Alec _Lewis via Twitter. Go to YouTube, search it. Are you enjoying it?
I am, yeah. It's kind of, I will say, it's hard. I focus so much on the writing. So to do the podcast, you always, like for people listening in their cars, you do these hand signals.
That's radio. They can't see.
Yeah, I know. But as I'm talking to you and you're doing these hand signals, it's always so hard to continue. And there's a strategy behind the hand signals. I haven't figured it out. It's kind of like Brian Flores.
The bullets are out here flying.
It's like the checks they make on the field. Harrison Phillips, Cam Bynum, they're doing all these signals. What does that really mean?
It's first place radio.
Sure.
That signal was for charts because I dominated the last segment. It was a short segment that you're going to go back to back to back to back.
Connor Stallions would be able to pick up on this.
This is
signals.
first place radio. If we're doing this at a Buffalo Wild Wings in the greater Jacksonville area, I don't care about the freaking straddle. I don't care about how much the co-host talks. I just want to get out alive and go to the golf. And maybe go do some shrimping or something and avoid that storm.
Shrimping.
This is first place radio.
No, you're doing it. No, you do a good job. I'm not saying you don't. The podcast has been fun. Charts, let's get into it.
Well, no, the live stream or whatever you call it.
Oh, I did a live stream. I did a live Q&A. Yeah, it's fun.
Was that cool?
Yeah, it's fun. I love talking to people who have questions, and I'm in the building every day. So if I can provide some kind of answers, I like doing that.
Good.
We've done 15 years times 15 of these. I don't know what that equals. Several hundred. We've never had
225.
Thank you. 225. We've never had the Buffalo Wild Wings Buffalo mascot here before until now.
Wow.
We've got the mascot here, and I've never seen the mascot before.
Hey, see what happens when you're in first place and you're embarrassing good teams?
Yeah.
The mascot comes to the Friday football team.
He's hiding in the beverage area. There he is. There he is right there. There's our Buffalo. I've never seen the mascot before. Hey, buddy. Jair Alexander versus Justin Jefferson. You had a tweet with some great quotes from JJ on this matchup. I love. In football, you don't get all the same one-on-one matchups like you get in basketball all the time. In football, it's hard to get a lot of these, but the Jair Justin Jefferson matchup is a legit thing. We know it matters to Jair. Justin's playing it pretty cool. I'm going to give you the quote that you tweeted.
Okay.
Here. This is JJ talking about the matchup. I don't really care about the matchup, honestly. I feel like he cares more than I do. But it is what it is. That's every team. It's no knick-knack at Jair.
He said knick-knack.
What does that even mean? Is that some new thing I've never heard of? What's a knick-knack at Jair?
Alec is more of a paddywhack guy.
No, it's funny because after he said knick-knack twice, I said to Kevin Seifert of ESPN, I'm like, did he say knick-knack? I think he meant nagging. And I think he just said, Justin is such a kid. Sometimes he just says random words. I think that's what that was.
That's every team and how they try to scheme against me and how they try to play me. It doesn't matter if I'm going up against Jair or the worst corner in the league. So, do you think that Justin Jefferson really does not care about this matchup? That's how he's trying to play it off. But I don't know. Athletes love, Tom Brady always got motivated by the big matchups and the individual matchups. I think that star players are looking for challenges, and Jair Alexander's one of them.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I believe he cares about this matchup. Now, he handled it in the media extremely well. I also do think he is confident enough in himself and his own abilities that he doesn't feel like he has to prove anything to anybody, but he has not played Jair since the late matchup in 2022.
Okay, so they did not. Jair was not on the field for last year's.
I believe Jair was suspended after going out and acting like he was a captain because he's from Charlotte.
I totally forgot.
So, and I'll say this. So this I will say on the air. So last year, Justin came back after the hamstring injury, and before that game, in that they played last year late in the season, and Jair was suspended. Justin had a press conference on Thursday, and after he finished the press conference, one of the reporters asked him, did you hear, this was not on the microphone, but they asked him, did you hear that Jair's not playing the game? And Justin was like, what? So there is something to Justin, and again, Justin doesn't feel like he has to Justin doesn't feel like he has to torch Jair. He torches defenses every single week.
Yeah.
But if Justin did say yesterday, he's like, I'll probably get him back for gritting atop me by grittying in his end zone, which was a phenomenal quote. And at that point, Sam Newton, who's the PR person, was like, all right, we've had enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I am very much looking forward to watching Justin Jefferson and how he approaches this game. There's not going to be as much slip and sliding, you would hope, as there was in that 2022 matchup. That night, the field was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, that was the one catch 5-yard game.
It was, and it was also Brian O'Neill tore his Achilles that night.
That's right.
There's something with this field that definitely irks them for sure. And so everything about this, I am just like PA, you said earlier, I cannot wait for this one.
We have a marathon with Alec Lewis coming up around the corner. We'll deep dive Border Battle 128 more. That paves the way for David Sinekin to give the adversarial update and point of view. David Sinekin at TC Head Cheese, card-carrying member of the Love Covenant. He is the Sultan of Smug, host of Packer Preview on KFAN each and every Sunday morning. And that'll be courtesy the marathon of FVP batteries and FVP parts, FVPparts.com. FVP, reach for what works. You know what works? Greg Coleman back on the 9 to noon vast and ever expanding radio network with a pregame preach you will hear Sunday at about 10:10 a.m. at FM 100.3 KFAN. The Border Battle has the man we call Touch all fired up, and here's what it sounds like.